very pleasant morning to you children. I'm Krishna. I'm back again with your English lesson, and today I will do the book Hornbill, chapter number 6. Okay, chapter number 6 of your book Hornbill is a chapter named The Browning Version. The Browning Version, written by Sir Terence Rattigan, who was born in 1911. So you can just imagine how old this play must be. It was written long way back. Okay, the genre of the chapter, the one we are going to study today, is the genre is a play, and this is one act play. Okay, one act play set up in an old British school. Okay, and to be exact, it is set up in an on-campus house of Mr. Crocker Harris, who is one of the teacher in this chapter. Okay, children, now about this play, it was so popular that once it was performed, actually it was first performed way back in 1948 in London, Phoenix Theatre, London, and it performed for a continuous more than 200 days. It played continually for more than 200 days. So you can just imagine how popular the play was those days. Fine. And now let us come to the characters of this play. This play is actually, the one we are learning in this chapter is actually just an excerpt of the whole play, the Browning Version. And when we come to the title, the Browning Version, okay, how did we get the title? The title, actually this is a play. The original version of this play was from the Greek tragedy Agamemnon, written by Aeschylus, and the English version was translated by Sir Robert Browning, and this play has been taken from there. Okay, so this is just a small excerpt, and the whole setting is a school, and we have only four characters in this short extract, and to be exact, only 3 characters would be seen here in conversation, and the 4th character, who is the main protagonist of this play, that is Mr. Crocker Harris. He is not seen in this whole chapter. Okay, physically he is not seen, but the whole chapter, the whole conversation revolves around him, and that's how we come to know more about Mr. Crocker Harris. So now let's come to the characters. First one is Mr. Andrew Crocker Harris, who is a middle age. Okay, he is in his late middle age. He's a middle age classic teacher of that school. And the second character is Mr. Frank Hunter, a young science teacher. Young means he's still in his youth, and he teaches science. Third one is Mrs. Millie Crocker Harris. She's a young and beautiful wife of Mr. Crocker Harris, and both of them, they are pole apart from each other, because she is a vivacious lady. She is very much conscious towards her dress, and the way she dresses, the way she looks. And okay, now the 4th character, main character, is John Taplow, a young student of 16. Okay, he is merely 16 years old, and the chapter Browning Version, which we are going to learn today, is just a conversation between a teacher and a student, and to be exact, this conversation between Frank Hunter and John Taplow. Fine. Children, now if we come to the moral of the chapter, the moral is simply the relationship between the teacher and a student, and the professional ethics and roles of a good teacher. Okay, roles of a good teacher. We will see two faces of teacher here, two kinds of teacher here who are totally opposite to each other. And okay, who are the two teachers here? Mr. Crocker Harris, Mr. Hunter. They are totally opposite to each other. One is very much dedicated to his work, to his profession, while other, Mr. Frank, he is not serious with his profession. He just takes it as a, okay, setting. I have told you already. Now this point has been covered. Now what will we learn? The points we're going to cover here is a conversation between a teacher and a student, and how is it starting? In the starting of the chapter, Tableau has been called for an extra work in school. And who called him? Mr. Crocker Harris called Tableau for an extra work. And that was the eve of the result declaration day. The next day the result would be declared, and just one day prior to that he had been called. And why was he called? For nothing else but it was sort of punishment which was set up by maybe by the school, maybe by Mr. Crocker Harris. And what was the reason for the punishment? He didn't do anything wrong. I mean, John Tableau didn't do anything wrong, but simply he was absent a week before. He was absent for one day a week before that, and to compensate for that day, to compensate for the day Tableau was absent, he was called that day by Mr. Crocker Harris. Fine. So Tableau was a sincere boy. He was very down to earth, and he was very loyal to his teacher. Because children, just imagine, tomorrow the result is going to be declared, and today your teacher asks you to come to the school. How would you feel? Of course, anybody will feel bad, and they feel guilty. They would not like to come, because in a free day, children, they like to play. Even Tableau, he wanted to go for a golf game, but he did not go. Instead, he listened to his teacher. Instead, he obliged by his teacher, and he came to the school. Actually, he came to his house, which was on the campus of the school itself. He came to his house. He was called at 6:30 in the evening, and when he came there, he was in time. When he came there, okay, the teacher was not there. Mr. Crocker Harris was not at home, is not present, but he did not escape. He did not leave. Tableau, he preferred waiting. He waited, and while he was waiting, another teacher came. Okay, that is Mr. Frank Hunter. Mr. Frank Hunter was a young teacher who taught in the same school, and he taught science. Both of them, they didn't know each other, and it was just chance meeting between Tableau and Frank Hunter. And that chance meeting turned up into a conversation which was struck by another teacher, that is Frank Hunter. Fine. He was just curious. He asked Tableau, children, usually if we don't know anybody, how do we cook up the conversation? We will just find out a way to strike the conversation. And what could be the easiest way? Do I know you? Means, who are you? Okay, so that is the polite way of asking, who are you? So the teacher simply asked, do I know you? So of course he answered that no sir, because he was in his lower fifth only, and Frank was a science teacher. Okay, Frank, or Mr. Hunter, he was a science teacher, and till that time Tableau was only in lower fifth. Okay, and he had not started learning science yet. So children, while I come to the word science, now I'll let you know something. Okay, some typical words. I won't say difficult words because these are not difficult words, but these are typical words maybe used in those days of British. Okay, in our world, in their world. In our world means in modern day, what do we call these things, and in those days what these words were called. Okay, I study in class. Okay, this is my classroom. So for the word class, the word form has been used in this play. Okay, because it was written long back. You can just imagine when the play was first performed in 1948. That is way long back. Okay, so what we call class now was called form those days. And result, we call result. The result is going to be declared today. We will know the result today. So they call, in those days they call, okay, in Victorian time they call remove. So the word remove has been used here for result. Now standard 10, class 10, high school, it depends on board, what we call, right? CBSE they call standard 10, they call 10th class, okay, 10th standard, but in UP board they call high school. For the same thing, in those days they call it lower fifth. That was what Taplow was in. Okay, he appeared for the examination of lower fifth. Fine. And there's another word here, what we call literature, a book of literature, and they use the word classic for that. That is what Mr. Crocker Harris was teaching. He was a literature teacher, but in those days they used to call it classics. Fine. Science student. So children, once you have completed class 10th, okay, you will be going into class 11th, and now you have to choose a stream. That is where you're now. Okay, you have to choose the stream, and suppose you opt for science stream. Okay, science stream, that is PCM and PCB, both are science stream. So we call you science student. Okay, he is a science student, you are a science student, but those days they called scientist. You can just imagine, scientist. Very good. So we use the word scientist for the one who has already qualified into that field, qualified enough to be a scientist, has done that much research. But in those days a science student is called a scientist. So now let's come back to the chapter. While the conversation was going on between Mr. Frank and Taplow. Okay, so just while during the conversation, while having the conversation, Mr. Frank Hunter, he just provoked that boy so much that he let the boy speak his heart out. He just poured himself. In a way, maybe it's because he was a young teacher and he knew his way with students. He was frank. According to him, his name was also Frank Hunter, and he was also frank, and he was friendly with the students. And while he was friendly with the student also, they were like, they could pour their heart out with the teacher. So while speaking, he told that he has been called by Mr. Crocker Harris to compensate for one leave he has taken last week when he was ill and he could not attend his class. Fine. And while talking, he says, okay, he means Taplow. He told that he still doesn't know. Mr. Hunter, he asked. So Frank, he asked that, okay, do you know your result? Do you know your result means, do you know your remove? He says, no sir, I still don't know, because Mr. Crocker Harris is not like other teachers who would just tell the remove to the students before the result is officially announced by the headmaster or by the principal. That was the rule in the school, that the result has to be declared by the headmaster, by the principal on the day of the result declaration day. Okay, but most of the teachers just to gain a favor from the students, just to be a favorite of the students, they would just tell the result to the students that they have got this much, they have got that much. But Mr. Crocker Harris, he was totally different. He was totally strict. Okay, he was he was a strict disciplinarian, and he never ever goes against the rules and regulations of the school. Fine. And he never ever tells the remove or the result to the children. And when Staplow, he tried asking Crocker Harris about his remove, he simply told, "You got what you deserve, nothing more and nothing less." That was a good and sincere answer also. Fine. So while talking, Staplow told Frank that he does not like this literature. He does not like literature because he told that he was having a book in his hand, that the book was Agamemnon, okay, written by Aeschylus, and that was in Greek language. So he told Frank also that once he clears or remove, once he passes out his lower fifth grade, next year he would opt for science, because he thinks that science is much more interesting. Children, Frank was a science teacher, and when he heard that, he got shocked. He says, "Oh, why?" Sadly, he told, "Why do we get all the slackers?" Means, why do I have to teach all the slackers? Slacker here means all the weak children. So according to him, all the dull children, all the weak children, they opted for science because they think that literature is much more difficult. But Staplow told the science teacher that no sir, it's not because of that, but I really like science. I really like the subject. It's a great, more exciting than this muck. What is this muck? Means this boring thing, this dull book I'm holding. And then he told, actually the story of this Agamemnon is not boring, is not dull. Okay, the way my teacher teaches me, that's boring. Because once we make a mistake in any word, with any word meaning, he will let us write the whole word, one full page. So we have to write that again and again. So that is the thing. So now let's come to the next page. Fine. And while the talk was going on, Mr. Frank provoked it. Okay, he provoked Staplow to speak more and more about Mr. Crocker Harris, because he wanted to hear more about him. He was a bit jealous. Why he was jealous? Because he was just thinking that Mr. Crocker Harris is so strict on such a last day of the term. He has asked one of the students to come to the school as a compensation, as punishment, and the student, he has come. Means they listen to him. And if a student listens to a teacher, that means the teacher holds a favorable position somewhere. Okay, the teacher is somewhere respected by that student. Children, there are two kinds of teachers. Okay, one who is very strict to the rules, to the regulations and everything. Okay, discipline for that teacher is everything. And one kind of teacher, they are friendly with students. On a surface level, we might see that children, they are at ease with a friendly teacher, but deep inside, somewhere in the subconscious mind, even they realize where the truth lies. Even they realize that the teacher who is very strict, okay, the teacher who is strict is somewhere good for him, and that's how they pay a respect for that teacher. Also, they have a respect for the strict teacher somewhere. Okay, and same is the case here. Chaplow also respected the teacher. And how did we know that? How did we know that? It has been mentioned here also. It has been mentioned here also. Because Frank told Chaplow that Crocker Harris asked to be here at 6:30 and he is already late by 10 minutes. Why don't you just cut? Okay, cut here means why don't you bunk, why don't you escape, why don't you leave the place? Just make an escape. Chaplow was really shocked to hear that, because he never ever expected such a suggestion from a teacher. Okay, that how does a teacher ask you to cut the place? How is the teacher asking you to bunk? Okay, in our days, in our language, now we use the word bunk the class, bunk the place. So a good teacher will never suggest you. So Chaplow was shocked and he was surprised. He told, oh no, I couldn't cut. I couldn't cut Mr. Crocker Harris, because just imagine if I move from here and he comes, what will happen? Okay, what will happen? So, and Frank also admitted that he is envious of Mr. Crocker Harris, that in spite of all these things, in spite of creating a fearful image in the mind of children, still children respect them, respect Mr. Crocker Harris, respect him. Okay, and he wanted to ask more and more. Okay, he wanted to just get more and more information about Crocker Harris from Chaplow. So he asked him, oh, you all seem scared to death of Mr. Crocker Harris. Does he beat you? Does he beat you? Chaplow said, no, good Lord, he is not a sadist. Children, this word is very important from your examination point of view. Also, find the word sadist. Now, what is a sadist? Sadist, we call the person who gets pleasure out of giving pain to other person. Okay, if I give pain to other person, I feel happy, I'm a sadist. So he told, good Lord, no, he's not a sadist. Means he does not beat children. He never beats children. So he told, he's not sadist like one or two other teachers here. So he casually told that other teacher, many of the teachers, or most of the teachers, some of the teachers, whatever you say, in this school, they are sadist. Okay, they are sadist. And while hearing that, Frank also got suspicious. He was just thinking that he might, maybe my name will come. So he asked, beg your pardon? So he said, a sadist, sir, someone gets pleasure after giving pain. Frank told, indeed, but I think you went on to say that some other masters. Okay. So what did Chaplow say? Of course, sir, there are some other masters in this school who are sadists. They beat children. Okay, they beat children just for no reason. But you are different. You're different. You're young. Okay, well, comparatively young than others, and you are science. So you must know what sadism is. Okay. So Frank was a bit relieved. Oh, he's not telling me. Fine. So he told. Now, but Chaplow told, of course, sir, Mr. Crocker Harris is not a sadist. But what I'm saying that he is more than that. He is more than that. Why, if he is a sadist, it would have been better, because at least he will let his feeling out. He would beat his children, and at least we will know that he is this type. But he is totally shriveled up inside like a nut. Shrivel up inside means having no feeling. You just cannot make it out what is going inside this person. That is shriveled up like a nut. Okay, how is a nut shriveled up, children? It is like this, shrink. Okay, so inside he shrunk like a nut. So you can never predict what's going inside him. That's why Chapter told, I don't know any other master who does not like being like. Okay, and he told one more thing about Mr. Crocker Harris, that Mr. Crocker Harris is a kind of person who does not like being appreciated, who does not like being liked. And children, that is a very strange thing, because who does not like appreciation? Who does not like praise or being praised by others? Okay, all of others, they are like that, but not Crocker Harris. Crocker Harris does not like being praised or being liked by any other student or teacher. Fine. He does not feel comfortable if anybody praises him, if anybody appreciates him. He feels uneasy. Fine. So now I'll just cover the main points here. So while talking about being appreciated, being liked or unliked, Taplow just told one incident here, that while inside the classroom one day, he made one of his classical jokes. Mr. Crocker Harris made one of his classical jokes, literary jokes, and while he told the joke, it fell flat on everybody because nobody understood. So children, if I tell a joke which nobody would understand, would anybody laugh? Nobody would laugh. So even on that joke told by Mr. Crocker Harris, not even one single student laughed. Why? Because nobody understood. But Taplow, he knew that whatever the joke was, it was a joke. So while it was a joke, it was meant to be laughed. So he felt pity on Mr. Crocker Harris, and just to be polite, just for the sake of courtesy, okay, just for being humbled, he laughed. Poor child, he laughed. And when Mr. Crocker Harris saw Taplow laughing, he told Taplow, I'm very happy that you could understand, that you are picking up in Latin now, you're picking up in Latin language now. So would you be kind enough to translate this joke in English and tell it to all other students, so everybody else can enjoy the joke and laugh also? Okay, so while he was telling that incident to Frank, okay, he was telling the incident to, okay, Frank asked him to just imitate again. So Taplow imitated like Crocker Harris in a deep voice. Okay, he cleared his voice, and while he was imitating, while he was mimicking Crocker Harris, suddenly what did he see? Suddenly what happened? There was somebody standing at the door. There was who entered? Millie. And Millie was the wife of Mr. Crocker Harris. She entered, and when Taplow saw Millie, he was shocked. He was frightened. He was frightened because he was just thinking, in case she goes and tells her husband, maybe he will cut my marks, maybe I could not clear my remove, which is going to be declared next day. So he was afraid. And now while coming to Millie, I think I told you since the very beginning that she was totally different from her husband. While he was, Mr. Crocker Harris was a serious, kind of mature kind of teacher who does not like to be appreciated, who didn't like to speak much. Okay, he was a rather keep to himself type of person. While his wife Millie, she was totally opposite. Okay, she was totally opposite, and she was very vivacious lady, very fashion conscious. And when she came there, okay, when she saw Taplow waiting, okay, she told Taplow that he can go out for some time and come back. But Taplow did not agree, because he was afraid that his teacher can come anytime. Actually, Millie told that he is at the bursars and it might be quite some time till he'll be back here. But again, he did not agree to leave the place. So now what did Millie do? Okay, she was having a basket in her hands. She was coming from the market, and she took out some prescription from there. She just created a situation, and she just find a prescription and gave it to Taplow. And told him that, okay, do one thing, in case you don't want to go out, can you do a small piece of work for you, sir? Just take this prescription and go to the chemist at the other end and get the medicine for him. Okay, so when Taplow heard that, he obliged, he agreed. He agreed because that was a work, that was the piece of work he was going to do for his teacher only. So he agreed, and he left the place. So children, this is the end of the short play, the Browning version. And this play, actually this is not the whole play, but this is just a small excerpt which was set up in that house in one room. Okay, and as I told you, it was just small conversation between Taplow and the science teacher. And towards the end of the chapter, there was the entry of Millie, and just a short conversation between Millie and Taplow. And after that, that is the end of the chapter here. And what did we see? What did we see in this chapter? In this chapter, I should say, okay. In this chapter, we saw that both teachers were totally opposite in nature and totally opposite in their sincerity towards their profession. Okay, while Mr. Crocker Harris, he was very serious towards the rules and regulations, and he was very strict with his students also. He was very serious. But in a way, if you read the whole play, you will know that he was very much unpopular with other teachers as well as the students. And this is actually a tragedy play. Fine, but we are not going to the whole play. We are just into a very, very small excerpt. And even in this excerpt, we will see that how the student Taplow, he has brought out many things about Crocker Harris. And even though Crocker Harris is not physically present in this chapter, in this excerpt, we know, or we have learned a lot, we knew a lot about him, about his characteristics through the mouth of his student John Taplow. So children, this is the end of the chapter here, and I hope you will enjoy reading this also. And like all other chapters, like all other videos, I suggest you here to just give it a read. Just give a read to this play, and I'm very, very sure things will be clear to you and you would enjoy reading it. Fine. With this, thanks a lot, Thanks a lot for listening to me. Have a good day.